Today's episode of Night Talk is brought to you by Marsha Butler, an Ebby Holiday Realtor.
Hello, my name is Marsha Butler, and I'm with Ebby Holiday Realtors right here in Frisco. I know that selling and buying a home are among the largest financial decisions most people will ever make. So really, it's quite simple. People come first, and your satisfaction will always be my first priority. When I go that extra mile and you have a successful outcome, you'll be a happy client. Call me today, Marsha Butler, at 469-388-2818. I'm looking forward to visiting with you.
And by Regions Pest, a scientific approach.
Welcome to episode 6 of Night Talk. I'm Brett Friedman. Joining me is Brendan Kauser, and we're going to be talking all football today. We have this Independence team is going into playoffs. We have our first playoff game this Friday against McKinney North. But before we get into playoffs, let's talk about last game, Brendan. Yep. We had our fair share of struggles.
Yeah, district championship game against Lone Star at Memorial. We had a lot of turnovers. Well, not even a lot. There's badly timed with fumbles at the 1 yard line and a muffed punt. I believe when the punt happened, we were about to get the ball back after a big defensive stop, and it looked like the momentum was coming right back to us, and then that happens.
So Lone Star opened up the game with the ball, and we forced them to punt, and then we drove the ball all the way downfield with some big plays, big catches, all the way to the 1 yard line, where we had a key turnover there, which would have got us straight out of the gates, 7, and it was really exciting to see the team drive the ball down the field, and then you could hear the sighs in the student section when they turned over the ball with the fumble. It was just a very poorly timed turnover, as you mentioned. And
a lot of incompletions, too. Kyle was 16 for 32, uncharacteristically inconsistent. So he's just 50% on completion, so that was a little bit weird to see.
He had some pretty good placed passes. He had a deep one to Ray Na, and a couple other ones that were just dropped by his receivers, not getting much help from his receiving core that game. We also had bad turnovers. Also, we had good defensive show-out, pretty much by our defense, only allowing, I believe, 37 points scored on us by that very aggressive Lone Star offense with Jason Shelley at quarterback. We also had a muffed punt and there's some stuff to work on with the special teams. We had a blocked field goal attempt after that first touchdown, also a muffed punt, and just wasn't really our night. Couldn't convert on third down. We had a lot of 3-and-outs, and then
the running game really got stopped too, and you just got to give that one up to Lone Star's defense.
Really coming out with that wide set in order to stop Dom running.
Yeah, Dom just had 67 yards, which is well below his average. On 15 carries too, yeah. And Ryan Houston, he stepped up though. He averaged 9 yards per carry. He went 5 carries for 45 yards. So that's what we need to see too, because if Dom isn't moving the ball, we need somebody to step up. He's not the entire team, as much as people like to say that.
So unlike the receiving core, we had someone able to step up that wasn't making plays like Ryan. So next week going into this McKinney game, you really got to either work with these starting receivers or try and get someone new in there that can just catch the ball and help Kyle out with that completion percentage being so low at 50%.
And we're playing playoff teams. You gotta when you're in the playoffs, you gotta sharpen your game. You gotta play as well as you can. You can't make too many mistakes and still win.
Because from now on out, every game could be your last.
Yeah.
And let's just talk about when you're a senior playing on this team after coming off that much, you do not want to go into the playoffs and lose that first game and then just be done. You want to be able to ride that all the way out, possibly to late November or even early December. Or even if we're really dreaming, even late December, that'd be awesome for this team. But next week we play McKinney North. They have some confidence coming in too. They're coming off a 3-game win streak, so they got some swagger. Brendan, let's talk about that McKinney North quarterback.
Oh yeah, their quarterback. He's their best passer and their best rusher. He's got almost 1,000 yards through the air, and then he's got 800 yards on the ground. So 18 total touchdowns, and they're pretty much split evenly, 11 touchdowns through the air and then 7 on the ground. So he's a dual threat quarterback, and we got to watch out for that.
But don't hit that panic button yet, because they did lose to Centennial earlier in the year. That was earlier in the year, though. They could have made a lot of changes through this team. They are coming on a three-game win streak.
They've got a point differential of 67, which sounds pretty good, right? You're scoring more than your opponents. Right. But then to compare that to us, ours is plus 200.
Exactly on 200, I think.
So that's...
So coming off a loss like this, you hope it's not really going to affect the locker room, because that game really didn't mean anything to lose. You only had something to win there. So we still didn't mess with any of our playoff situations at all. We knew we were playing McKinney North since last week, and you got to think some of the coaches could have been, kind of looking past Lone Star, thinking about this first playoff game that we're going to have to play against McKinney North. And just the atmosphere around the school this week, you can tell that people are ready. And it's just going to increase as the week goes on. It's only Tuesday. We have a big prep rally coming up on Friday to get everyone hyped for it. And we expect to see everyone at the Star on Friday for this awesome matchup between McKinney North and Independence. Hoping to see Independence get their very first playoff win, which would be incredible being this young and getting that first playoff win. I know schools that are twice as old as Independence that still don't have one. So it'd be really exciting. And
I would recommend to go get your tickets now, because I don't think it's gonna sell out the first week. Yeah. But for that Reedy game, a lot of people didn't get to go because they just didn't know that you had to get your tickets early. So I would it's $10 no matter where you get them. So don't wait later to think you're gonna get them cheap or anything. $10 online or at the front of the school. Go ahead and buy them.
Also, some other exciting things coming up. We have a Midnight Madness for Independence basketball on Saturday. Hope to see y'all out there. It's going to be a fun time. We have Coach Davis. I've heard some of the plans. It's going to be really exciting. Y'all are going to want to go show up there and show your support for this basketball team. We'll have more basketball talk in the next upcoming podcast.
Hopefully next week we're still talking about football.
Hopefully. So it's a really exciting atmosphere in the school this week, and everyone's just super excited. So thanks for listening to this episode of Night Talk. We really appreciate it. Make sure you give us a follow on Twitter at ChillBrett and
at BKAUSE33.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.